Well, I messed up. Nah, I'm just joking. Everything's good. no, no, but in all seriousness though, when I was talking about the DC Multiverse Batman versus Kong 2-pack, I was surprised that there was actually one little detail that I forgot to mention when covering it. And honestly, after I tell you, this might change your perspective a little bit on the whole situation. A little bit, not by much though. I'm gonna be honest. People are still pretty pissed about the 2-pack, and I'm gonna explain why in a little bit. Before I move on, a couple of things. Yes, I know. Technically, it's a 3-pack because it does come with a tiny little Batman that you could put on Kong's hand. But you know what? Nah, screw it. I'm calling it a 2-pack. I'm sorry. And then, of course, second of all, if you see me like kind of nudge around a little bit, I want to apologize in advance only because I'm literally sitting on a stool. I'm moving, so I put my stuff away. So my desk is gone, my chair's gone. Don't even ask me how I'm holding this camera right now. So you know what? Let's just get on with it, right? All right. So basically, a while ago, it was McFarlane. He revealed that because of the Godzilla, no, Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong comic book. So he decided he's gonna of course cash in on that. Which hey, I'm not arguing about it. Hey, look, I talk about Godzilla on this channel too, so it only makes sense that two of your favorite things come into one, right? Let's say I didn't show you anything, right? Let's say for an example, I work with McFarlane son, and I'm just saying like got Batman versus Kong, and it's like, ooh, kind of, it makes you curious and kind of makes you want to see what they have to offer. So obviously they showed off the figures and a couple of things, right? Kong could barely move. At most it looks like he only has about maybe 3 or 4 points of articulation. Looks like the waist can move, both his arms can move, maybe the head, because well he does have an optional like a second head you could attach, but that's about it. As for the gold Batman figure, it looks cool. So you realize that we've seen this Batman figure once before. So yeah, as you can imagine, people weren't really too keen on it at first. But then we finally saw the official Prada images, and we see how it's going to look, and it's up for pre-order as of now. Yeah, no, listen, I made a mistake too. Don't get me wrong. When I was covering for the first time, and I generally kind of thought it was going to be like maybe a prototype or so, because I was like, there's no way that they're just going to release the figure just like that, the way that we've seen it, and then still charge us like a ridiculous price or something like that, right? So it's like $69.99, $70 pretty much, right? Okay, pretty average for a 2-pack when it comes to the DC Multiverse toy line. It basically it's like you get the regular figures, the 7-inch, and then of course you get like a big giant baddie like Superman versus Doomsday or whatever. You get the idea, kind of like that, right? But obviously, of course, this was a pretty big boy, right? For sure. I mean, mind you, I'm gonna explain what I'm missing right in a minute, right? Basically what I'm trying to say is that people are not happy that Kong is barely any articulated, and the fact that you're paying that much for it, especially considering a Batman figure that's pretty common. It's supposed to be the one based off of the Hush comic series, whatever. I don't know. It was from like I think the early 2000s. Look, don't hate me, okay? All right, listen. There's so many different versions of our favorite superheroes. All right, it's hard to keep track sometimes, right? So here's the biggest kicker here that I just realized, and I don't know if I mentioned this already, but it's like this might change your perspective a little bit onto the whole situation, but probably not by much, right? Kong is 12 inches tall, so he's not he's tall. It's pretty huge for sure. I mean, when you think about it, most deluxe figures I want to say are like maybe around the 8 or 9 inch or so. Like when it comes to scaling. But Kong is big. Not only is he wide and he's thick, but he's 12 inches. That's like wow. That's pretty big. That's a lot. Because it's like I don't know. It's like for the most part, when we're talking action figures in specific, obviously McFarlane has never really done something like that before. Now hold on, I know I know what you're gonna say, and hold up, I'm getting to it. Trust me, I'm reading your minds right now. I understand what you're about to say. Right now, look, I get that his whole idea, he likes to make statues, right? Okay, I get that. He has that weird obsession with wanting to just make everything so static. And mind you, okay, fine. It's not a, how do I say it? They're decent, but obviously it's not really for everyone. But I know that he puts a lot of emphasis on that so much. That's kind of why people complain so much about the DC Multiverse toy line and how the figures are 22 points of articulation. But then there's just certain characters where they need a lot more movement. I mean, I get it when it comes to like Hasbro too. I get it. Most of their figures are roughly have same amounts of points of articulation. Well, not exactly. Sometimes they do tweak it, whether it's butterfly joints or, like a new neck piece or whatever. They always do a bunch of weird, crazy stuff like that all the time. It's evolving pretty much. But obviously, if you're going to make a character like Spider-Man, of course, he's not only is he very agile, he freaking, it's Spider, it's in his name, he's gonna climb, so he has to be flexible as hell. You can't really make like a sort of static kind of thing, and that's sort of what McFarlane likes to do. The people, a lot of people call it the statue figure, whatever you call. I don't know what the right term for it is, but that's something that people like to say a lot because of how they look. And even in my comments section, I get that a lot too. People be like, "Foreign toys are just statues," and in a way, it kind of is true. Don't get me wrong. There's ways around it. There are a couple figures out there, in the lineup where they pose pretty decently. I can't show it to you now because I already packed my stuff away, but you get the idea. But the point that I'm trying to make is it's all about manufacturing and tooling, obviously. When it comes to making these figures, I can only assume that because this is like a new big project for them, and obviously they probably have never really made a figure of that size. I could be wrong. I don't know. I mean, I had to research like deep. I have to look right into like their multiverse lines, starting from the very beginning. I had to double check just to make sure that I wasn't just talking all that bull, if you know what I mean, right? I don't like to get my information wrong. But obviously, if I'm wrong, of course, I will correct myself somehow. But you get what I mean. So obviously, it's a 12-inch figure, so that's a pretty tall order, And then I made the joke last time too. I was like, okay, is he just like copying Playmates? Because I know like their giant figures weren't really all that articulated to begin with. But then that all changed when the new movie came out, and we literally got an articulated 12-inch Kong and Scar King. Okay, technically they're 11 inches, but you get what I mean. Almost the same, right? So again, it all comes to like tooling and all that and trying to create the parts for the articulation. So I can only imagine that was probably the corner that was cut. Is that an excuse? No. Obviously, I mean, I would assume that at some point they have to give us an explanation as to why did this Kong figure ended up the way it did. Because, I'm 50-50 because it's like, I want it, but at the same time, I mean, the same amount of money that I'm spending, I could have gotten like two nicely, at least decently articulated figures. But I'm getting an action figure and then I'm getting like half a statue. And I'm like, that's not really what I want. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. It puts like a weird taste in your mouth, if that makes any sense, right? I don't even know where I'm going with this, honestly. I'm just trying to think of it through like the production standpoint. Because unfortunately, yes, that is a thing that does happen within the toy industry, is that there's some cuts here and there where they're going to have to sacrifice something. I don't remember who it was. If I could, I don't know. I know that there was somebody on YouTube. If I could find them, I'll definitely mention them. But I'll leave maybe in the description. But there was actually somebody that said that these still work for like one of the old DC toy lines. And I remember the person, he talked about how with the Poison Ivy figure in specific, they wanted to give her extra hands and all that, but unfortunately they couldn't really do it due to cost and all that. And I'm assuming that what was also going on was that I guess the toy line was just gonna end because it just financially they couldn't keep up no more. I don't know if that's something similar and that maybe McFarlane doesn't want to say anything. I don't know, because mind you, this man pumps out figures like crazy. I can't keep up. Luckily they're kind of easy to find, but that's not really saying much though, because it's like a 50-50. At least it's not like with Hasbro or with their Marvel Legends or their GI Joe stuff where some of the figures are a little bit hard to find. With McFarlane, oh no, he's everywhere. He's everywhere. I mean, I'm not against it, but jeez. But this 2-pack though, again, it's like why did they did us dirty? They did us both MonsterVerse fans, kaijus, and like superhero fans and all that. They did us all dirty. So I don't know. I would assume that hopefully maybe in the future we'll get some sort of explanation. But for now, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to say. That could be the case for sure. Don't get me wrong. But then again, like I said, one, it's not an excuse, and two, okay, fine, I get it. He's done like the Batmobile and all that. He's done like some pretty large stuff that's definitely for sure more than 12 inches. So does that matches in this situation? I honestly, I don't know. So it's like if they have the tooling and the and all the products for that, why couldn't they just simply add a little bit more articulation for Kong? What are they gonna say? He couldn't stand right. or something? Is that what that is? I don't know. I need help. Like for real. Like that there has to be more to it. I see a lot of people complaining, and don't get me wrong, I understand completely, but at the same time, we gotta be detectives, man. We gotta look into this and just look at it, because it's like, okay, something's not adding up. There's no way that it can't be because of this mentality that he has. There has to be a lot more to this situation that we don't know about. And I stand by maybe a little bit that maybe because it's a bigger figure and they've never really made figures that big, maybe they just didn't have the tooling for it, or maybe they're not really, they're not really with the whole MonsterVerse thing. Can you imagine if he did like a Godzilla versus Superman pack and then Godzilla ends up being articulated? I mean, I doubt it. I mean, honestly, I think in that situation it'd be a little bit more worse because, mind you, you gotta fit that tail in there, and it's like, that more production, more costs. Who knows? So until then, I mean, I've never thought I would make a part two about this. So who knows? Hopefully this will be like a saga without a, what the unofficial sequel or something. I don't know. Who knows? I'd be shocked if I had to make a part three of this. Anyway, that's about it for now. So thank you guys for watching. As always, leave a like and subscribe, and that's about it. Yeah.